With the mission to keep as many men on as many guns for as long as possible, we called him Doc. Welcome to Combat Vet Vision. And now your host, Airman Chief Seaver.
Like the sun getting goodbyes. Hey, welcome to Combat Vet Vision. Hey, this is a place where I really get to talk about anything that goes on after I've gotten out, stories from when I've been in, especially, dealing with the combat side of things. And this is a place where I get my sponsor, supporters, volunteers, as well as other combat vets to come on here and tell their story. Most of my stuff focuses around Warrior Built and the PTSD Foundation. Obviously, Combat Vet Vision's my deal, but I love it. And this week, I have a good buddy of mine, another fellow chief, retired James Pitt on deck. He actually was one of my PSIs way back in the day, projected student inputs prior to going to field med, and he's got a great story of his life, but his transition and what he's doing now to help out other veterans as well as the public, as a public servant, just as a real estate agent, doing some really incredible things. And he's got some really good programs coming up, so stay tuned on that. James, welcome to the show, brother. Appreciate you.
Hey, Chief, what's going on, bro? How are you?
Hey, if for some reason the internet fails on my part, this becomes your show. So, feel free to tell your story as you'd like, just so you know. But for the most part, we should be pretty good. Hey, so this would be a good discussion, man. You and I served together. You were a PSI back in the day, but then you went and did amazing things. When you got out, your transition was a little bit shaky. You were wondering what direction to go and all these different things. You came to Warrior Built. You hung out. You helped build the Warrior Built guitar. There's really a lot of really cool things with that. You went to some warrior groups, and now you're even to the point where you want to take the 30-hour certificated course and be a peer-to-peer mentor and actually help vets in that fashion. But on top of that, you went the real estate route. You've done some really incredible things. You got involved with some incredible programs that are going to also be a benefit to our combat vets and veterans in general. So talk about your story a little bit. Let's get to your Navy story. Why'd you join the Navy? What was that all about? And then, being an IDC corpsman, obviously, is somebody who's actually, taking care of medicine on a whole different level. When someone gets hurt, they can actually make decisions like a medical officer and actually do surgeries and minor stuff. Some incredible things. So let's talk about your career a little bit, and then let's get into your transition and some of these things that you're doing now.
Okay. Well, I grew up in San Diego, and it got to the point to where I knew school wasn't for me, and I had to make a choice on what I wanted to do. My dad was a retired Navy chief, so he never put any pressure on me. He never even talked to me about any military branches. I ended up going to the Army recruiter, got sold on being airborne infantry, came home, told my dad, and he was like, "Pump your brakes a little bit." Um, he gave me advice, and I just told him, I was like, "Hey, I want to go fight. I want to be in a combat element." He's like, "Okay, but there's other options." He's like, "Go to all the branches and see who's going to give you the best deal. Whoever gives you the best deal, take that deal." Um, I went to the Marine Corps. Same thing. It was going to be like being 0311. My dad's guidance to me was just make sure I choose a job that it transfers to the outside. Then I found out there was Navy corpsmen, and Navy corpsmen were with Marines. And I just wanted to go and be with a combat element, and fight and serve my country. That's why I joined. Um, Keep in mind, it's pre-September 11. Right? I joined in 2000. Everything is calm and cool. Um, I ended up joining in July 17, 2001, going to field boot camp, right to field med school, right to first MARDIV, right to the 15th MEU, right into Afghanistan within like my first year and a half in the Navy. Um, go to field med school, and those instructors back then, like Steve Markham, Frank Percy, and all those guys, were like, "You got to train for war, blah blah blah," and you're just like, "Man, we haven't been to war since like Desert Storm. There's nothing." Lo and behold, as soon as I graduated, got checked in at 1-1, and I was actually on the 15th MEU in Australia during September 11th, already deployed. So we were the first ones in. I did 3 Afghanistan deployments, 1 Iraq deployment, and that was pretty much it. I mean, I definitely enjoyed my time. I was an IDC. those were great times as well. And then basically staying in the technical field was my goal. So I kind of looked at like being a regular 8404 chief as a first sergeant, senior chief, like going the first sergeant route compared to taking the 8425 IDC route, like the master sergeant route, and still staying technical. Because what I really wanted to do was still be able to work with the juniors on a daily basis. And I know you could do that as an 8404, but not to the extent as that I'm actually getting to train them and work with them on a daily basis.
Yeah, it's so true. And the schools that you went through, definitely extensive schools. I mean, IDC school is no joke. The unfortunate thing about it and about war is when we come back from war, there's no place for it in society, and you got to kind of like figure out how to navigate that. And as an
Mhm.
IDC, you don't really get the credit that you should. In the civilian world, there's nobody going, hey man, thanks for going to a 2 year long school or a year long school and then giving out all this stuff and becoming this almost doctor status. Um, and it is no place for it, unfortunately, in society by itself. I hope there is
Not
some
one
programs that,
place.
yeah, I mean, there's some programs that'll lead you to the RN route, but you still have to go back to school. It's like everything you learned actually doesn't count. You have to relearn it all. You have to go to a school for it, and then it's an unfortunate thing. But I know now. Let's get into a little bit about your transition. I mean, I remember when you transitioned. I remember you coming to Warrior Built, checking in, and just trying to feel your way around it. You also came in with a Marine, Aaron,
Mhm.
and you guys kind of had this whole thing. Kind of it was a rocky road for you two, but it was really cool to see you kind of finally grip a hold of something and take a route, because you were obviously worried about your family and what you're going to do in your life and a lot of different things. And talk about that. Talk about your transition and what it was that you finally got in a route of where you were going to go, and now you're going that direction.
Yeah, I mean, um, being senior listed, and you're always providing guidance to the juniors when they separate, like, hey, have a plan, have a plan. I was like, cool, I'm gonna be 38, retired, my bills are paid, I'm gonna just chill. That was cool for about 2 weeks. Everyone that I knew was still at work or still on the base working, couldn't do anything during the day. And it just got to be where you lost your sense of purpose, you lost your sense of passion. And I'm coming to realize more and more now about my transition, now that I'm working with multiple nonprofits, getting to tour some of these nonprofits and see what they're about. The biggest thing is uh, passion. They're losing their passion and their self-worth, and I went down that dark hole, was struggling a little bit, went to Warriorville. Thank God for Warriorville. You guys brought us in right away. I remember the first day you're like telling me and Aaron, hey, you guys can go to uh, Reno and work the booth for Bike Week. And I was just like, wow, like these guys were cool. Working with the guitar. It just, the transition itself without having a sense of purpose or no longer passion, because you got to look at the normal military guy that retires. By the time they retire, they spent all of their adulthood in the military. That's all they know, right? And then all of a sudden, that day comes where that uniform does not come back on the next day, and everything is gone. You're used to walking around and people greeting you. When you're a chief walking around, people are like, "Good morning," telling you. You go back to being a normal person, which you've never been taught really how to be a normal person. Since being younger, you were taught how to be a military man. And once I started to really find my sense of purpose, when I can tell you, I had a huge leak in my house, and everyone was quoting us like 20 to 30,000. And then I remember Chris McCullough saying, "Hey, I hope you get into real estate, come intern for my team, and I'll hire you." So I ended up calling him, going and interning for real estate. And real estate it's cool. I'm just gonna say that it's cool. The best thing about it, and why I like it, is because I'm my own boss. I control my own schedule. And now, being in the military, you have to put the military in front of your family if you want to succeed. There's no other way to succeed if you want to go up the ranks. If you're not deploying because of your family, you're not going to get promoted. So my mentality shifted as I started to get into real estate, finding a sense of passion and purpose again in my life. Um, Now it was all about my kids and my wife. Like, I was never going to put anything in front of them again. I'm at all my kids' events, every single one of them. And now it's basically my time to not lose with them and being able to work and being able to do what I do with helping veterans right now.
Yeah, that's a really cool caveat to everything that we do. Especially as chiefs, you want to be able to mentor and be. And where do you find that when you got out? And I will say, when you got out, you were still trying to find your route, but at the same time, you also participated in fundraisers and events that
Mhm.
helped Warrior Build Out, the PTSD Foundation of America out. You participated in a lot of things, trying to figure out, hey, where can I still be effective as a leader, as somebody who in the community wanting to do this. And now, obviously, I seen you the other day at Warrior Build. You came down with your team, and dude, you're putting together a podcast kind of thing to do this real estate piece. You're you're involved with with your funding company, EGA, Eagle Globe and Acre,
Mhm.
funding, and you're doing this real estate piece, but you're also getting ready to teach this whole thing out to veterans that want to participate. Let's talk about that in just a minute. Let's see if this PSA wants to come on for my an advertisement. Brian, if you got this PSA, and then we'll come back to that thought process.
Okay.
This message is from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Do you want easy access to VA Online, as well as other government websites? Then login.gov is the way to go. Login.gov is a U.S. government service that provides seamless access to government websites. By creating a login.gov account, you can use the same email and password to sign into va.gov, My Healthy Vet, VA DoD e-benefits, and the VA Health and Benefits mobile app, among other VA services. Login.gov also allows you to securely sign in to USA Jobs and TSA PreCheck, and to apply for SBA small business loans and disaster assistance. One login, many resources. To create a login.gov account, simply go to va.gov and click Sign In.
Hey, before we get into it, I just want to brief so everybody maybe they don't understand, but we actually had a guitar build at the foundation at Warrior Build for a
Mhm.
3-day week. It was a three days on a weekend. The Phoenix Patriot Foundation put together this whole guitar build for veterans, and you just happened to check in like a couple days earlier, and I said, hey man, come down here and help do this guitar. And you spent a good portion of your time with the piece, the wooden piece,
Mhm.
the main piece of the guitar, and you sanded it down. I think you even shaped it, did some stuff. We even got into the painting, dipping it, doing the dip, and so that's why we're talking about the guitar, and it's the Warrior Build guitar that James actually did a good portion of it. I mean, there's 11 vets I think involved in the Warrior Build guitar, but you did a big portion of it. So just wanted to fill that out. But yeah, let's talk about what you're doing, man. I'm excited about it. I'm excited about the podcasting, the teaching of the real estate, the whole thing that you got going on.
So yeah, I mean it started small. It was a small idea, but now it's blowing up into all these different directions. Basically, what we're doing with EGA Homes is the Boosted Suits program, which we're a nonprofit. The Boosted Suits program is going to start training any active duty veterans and vet spouses in a 12-week program in real estate at no cost to the veteran. So basically, we're working right now with the Skill Bridge program for transitioning service members. I think I know our first cohort's next week on Tuesday, and we have 3 transitioning service members right now at the Bridge program into the program wanting to get licensed. We put them through 12 weeks. We actually teach them how to be a real estate agent. So there's nothing like what we do out there. It's basically like an MOS school or an A school. So basically, there's nothing out there what we're doing. So we're going to create agents, and by the time they're done with us, they will already be close to working their first deals and have everything set for them, compared to the civilian agent that goes and takes their test, goes into a brokerage and gets hired and has no database, has no idea what to do. Um, the reason why we came about this is because we see a lot of retirees, we see a lot of veterans who are able and have the knowledge to be highly successful in life, but people are settling. You see retirees all the time. You'll see guys get out and go work at Lowe's, Why? Your bills are paid. Why not try to attempt something that can actually change your life and your kid's life? You know, go to your full potential instead of just being stuck in that rut and accepting that I just need a normal job and that's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. We do have our podcast, our Boosted Seats podcast. We just got done with our fourth episode, I believe, and we interviewed a Marine vet who got hit, Josue, who was missing an eye and a leg. And we just went through his story. Our podcast isn't really anything to do with real estate. What we're targeting is the veteran community and trying to provide good knowledge and information out to them. So it has nothing to do with our real estate program. I mean, it's named after it, but it's more like kind of like what you do. You putting good info out there to vets, trying to help vets get out of these holes. That's a big thing. Our big thing right now is the suicide rate. We want to decrease the suicide rate, and we think that we're touring a lot of nonprofits right now. And I can say there are really good nonprofits, and there are some really, really bad nonprofits making a ton of money, and these vets are not being taken care of. And I'm seeing it firsthand. You know,
Yeah, and you've talked to me about that, and I think that's an extraordinary thing because I don't always have the time to get out there and see everything, but it's really awesome to see it through your eyes because you see what I do, you see what I'm about, and for you to reflect some of that on me, it kind of breaks my heart in a lot of ways because I want to believe in some of these things that are going on. But that's part of the reason why you took it upon yourself to hit me up too and say, hey, I want to do this 30-hour certificated course.
mhm,
So we talk about post-traumatic growth. You've grown a lot in your thoughts and processes, and you've obviously aligned yourself with things that are going to be passionate for you, that give you purpose, and you're able to give back to your family the way that you want. You want to be your own boss. So now on top of that, you still want to give back. Talk a little bit about what that's going to do. I mean, the 30-hour certificate course, just so you know, makes you kind of a peer-to-peer support person for the PTSD Foundation of America, but it gives you the ability to kind of run groups and do some incredible things. And you've been part of it. So talk about why it's still going to be important for you to give back. And obviously, your podcast that you're doing to obviously reach out and just see where people are and hear their stories and get some true feedback. And for you to be in the nonprofit organizations backyards and saying, hey, what are you guys doing? And finding out that some of them may not be really doing. And
mhm.
so it's an incredible thing. Talk a little bit about that.
So I'm not going to name any nonprofits, but couple. First off, I think there's a big disconnect with the nonprofits, and I'm starting to see this now. The disconnect is, let's just say in our backyard where Warrior Built is, you got US Vets, you have all these veteran nonprofits, but nobody knows what they do. You can go to one nonprofit and they can be like, well, we're trying to get this done for somebody. Well, why aren't you going down the street to them? Because that's what they specialize in, and having like a hub. And I think that if we brought all all the veteran organizations together, we'd be able to treat and take care of more vets at one time. Instead of everyone can keep their separate missions, that's fine. But let's work together and know what everyone does. And that way we can send people to each other and take care of more vets. Um, I've been touring a lot of nonprofits, especially if they have facilities, working with some of them. I'm seeing, especially with the post 9/11 PTSD veterans, they're not being taken care of. And I'm talking about this organization is getting hundreds of thousands of dollars of grants. Um, they don't have the knowledge, they don't have the people to purposely, like, one of them came up to us and was like, yeah, we know of a PTSD vet we haven't seen him in 3 weeks. He hasn't come out of his room in 3 weeks. Well, like, don't you think that's an issue? Why aren't we taking care of them? Well, they're just here. Well, you're giving them a place to stay, you're feeding them, but there's no accountability on if they want to stay here, that they have to keep doing these certain things. Huge, huge substance abuse programs within this organization I'm talking about. Like on a weekly basis, sheriff's departments are there. And where is all this money coming from? They don't even have the proper people to handle and take care of them mentally. And that's what's leading, like, me, Herbert, and Ruben to get this 30-hour course, is because, like, we went in there and they had a retired sergeant major. This retired sergeant major recently retired, no combat time. He's wondering why he can't connect with these combat vets, because the combat vets want to know and talk to someone that's been in their shoes. They need to trust you before they're going to tell you their story. And there's like a misconception too, is that in order to help a combat vet, they need to tell you their story. No, they don't. Why are you going to make them relive that story? Like, cool. Like what uh, my buddy Herbert says, we all shot at somebody. We all returned fire, right? We got shot at, we returned fire. Some of us saw body parts. Check, check, check. Let's move on. What is bothering you today? Why can't I get you out of this room and get you looking for a job? Those are the things that they need. But you have to have people to be able to walk into a facility that have the street cred to go and talk to them. That's why they're wondering why they have nobody attend their groups. Well, you have nobody with street cred and they don't trust any of you. That's the issue. You know, and a lot of these guys in that dark hole, I'm starting to really learn, is they just lost their purpose and they lost their passion. You got to help them find purpose and passion again. It will help them get out of that hole.
Yeah, you said some really incredible things because, for one, I think it's super important. I really don't want to have a full discussion with somebody that really hasn't been to combat, or it's
Hmm.
just not. For the most part, I'll have great talks with any veteran, but for me to have a real deep conversation, I really need to be having that conversation with a combat vet. Even a psychologist, it may take a long time before I open up to something that
Hmm.
it just doesn't happen overnight. And a lot of, like you said, you go out to see these places and you see what's going on. You're just like, hey, the mental health is a huge issue, but you can't save anybody that doesn't want help, and you
Hmm.
can't be credible if you're not credible with that person. And where does that credibility start? It's got to start somewhere where there's some similarities. Yeah, a veteran to veteran contact, that's one thing, but to see and shoot and fire and take fire and get blown up, there's a whole different attitude, a whole different mindset to it. And someone always says PTSD is PTSD. That's true and fine, but I can't have the same connection with somebody who has PTSD from something that maybe happened to them in their childhood that doesn't reflect to anything that I've done. But I
Hmm.
can have that relationship with somebody that served in a combat zone and had to deal with a lot of different things. So I totally agree with you, and I think it's awesome that you are wanting to create this whole helpful environment that you're taking on by yourself. It's that whole.
I mean, my guys are Herbert, all of us, the whole EGA team, the Boosted Suits team is all doing this. It's what we've been missing out on is what I've been missing out on is working with vets. That's my passion. I actually almost left real estate to go back to work with to work in a veteran organization. Um, that was my passion. I just wanted to be around like-minded individuals. That is the purpose on why we're actually going to stand up a Temecula real estate team, and it's going to be manned by all vets. We're going to recreate that military shop. And if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. There's a difference. There's a difference when it's all vets in one space compared to being mixed with civilian and vets. And I think by doing this and having like-minded individuals focusing on the same mission with the same purpose and the same passion, we're going to be able to help each other heal even further.
Yeah, and that's something you brought up really, really cool too, is that shop talk and the ability to communicate within the organization of the military. You know, the civilian world doesn't have that luxury or that connection, because the civilian entities have put very strict restrictions on how you should interact with the people that you work with every day. And it seems
Hmm.
like you need to just keep it on this whole very fine line of business without any true connections. Try not to be over friendly. Try not to steer any directions that might be intrusive. And we use words like intrusive in the military. We use words like escalation of force and
Hmm.
um, and hell in a handbasket, or when shit hits the fan, whatever you want to say. We're able to say these words and kind of just it kind of glides by us without affecting our ability to be like, hey, this is a reasonable conversation, but it may not be one that you want to have, and you can always opt out. But you don't really have that luxury in the civilian world, and I'm glad that you brought that up, because what you're trying to form is giving that military feeling and aura.
But it's also like being able to understand what everyone's going through, right? Because we're all going through the same thing. Some of us, the way that I see people, we all battle our demons and we still battle our demons on a daily basis. Some of us are able to control it and handle it differently because we've learned than others. That's all that it takes, right? Um, by being able to control it in an environment where everyone understands what everyone's going through. So I always say, like, if you had nightmares last night and you didn't sleep at all, don't come in. No one's going to say, why aren't you here at work? No one's going to write you up. Nothing's going to happen to you. But like, they fought for our country and they were injured. So why not give them that opportunity? You know, and that's where I see the disconnect between the civilian employers and us, because to them, they're a dollar sign. You work from 9 to 5, right? But what goes on after that, and it's the way that we were trained in the military and we were trained in our leadership, right? Because we always took our junior sailors and in the BAS and we became a family. Because the tighter that BAS was, the more successful that BAS was. We knew about everything that was going on with everybody. If they had any issues with housing, food, anything, we would take care of it for them, right? As leaders. Why can't we take that mentality of leadership and bring it into the civilian sector and take care of our brothers and sisters?
Very good point, man. That's yeah, that's something I really don't know what it's like to live in the civilian world, because I still call, Warrior Built and the PTSD Foundation my never-ending last duty station. But and that's the feelings that I get all the time. I come in, I talk to guys, I want to get to know them and see what's going on, and hopefully we're going to stop that somebody from ending their life because they feel like they don't have anywhere to turn. They don't have a break. They're just on the grind, and next thing you know, they're not here with us anymore. So when hopefully we can put a dent in that.
But when we left Warriorville, we were talking about how crazy it is that, like, you were there. I've never met Nick before, right? I've talked to him on the phone, right? I've never met Nick. And then Mark comes in. What happens there? Like, none of us never met each other. Like, oh, what state? Where were you at? Where were you at? Do you know this person? And all of a sudden, we're just in there having a huge conversation about what we did, and it was a good conversation. That's exactly what we're trying to recreate.
Yeah,
that
that's
bond
true.
and that brotherhood.
Hey, it was cool, man. It was cool to see you be able to take a trip through the shop, and then go upstairs and be like, yeah, this is the guitar that I built, and you gave a whole description of the whole thing and the day, and it gave me that reflection of the day too, and I was like, damn, that was a cool day, man. So even though I didn't get to serve with you in the military other than the PSI connection, but I got to serve with you on the guitar build, and those things start to create really good bonds in itself, and that's why I consider it my never-ending last duty station. But James, hey man, if you got some other last words, feel free to throw them out there. I put some links on here just so you know. You got your link to your real estate, and you got your link to EGA is on there. I wish I would have had the suits to boots to suits link too, but feel free to put all that information out there, and any last thoughts that you got, man. I'd appreciate it, brother.
Last thoughts is, if you are a vet out there, PTSD, and you're struggling and you're in that dark hole, you really need to reflect why and find your passion and refine your purpose. Once you're able to do that, things will start looking up for you, and I promise you on that.
That's good words. And hey, if you need help with that, reach out to myself. If you need to get a hold of James too, if you want to reflect on something with him, feel free to hit me up, and I'll link you right to him as well. But yeah, this is an incredible thing to have him on my show and actually just be here to kind of talk about his story and what he's doing. I mean, there's some incredible things that you as veterans are doing that need to be described. And if you want to get on my show, please hit me up, ask me. And there's a lot of really cool things that I see all the time. I invite people on my shows when I see, what's going on, and it's an incredible thing. So, hey, this is Aaron Siebert signing off. This is SitchRadio.com, managing my show, Combat Vet Vision. Until next time, strength and honor. Out.
The only way time flows under blue skies. The only way, like the sun bidding goodbye.